Videos here, and this is a video for graphing inequalities. So if we look at our essential question, it's how do we write and graph inequalities? So basically, guys, what we're going to be trying to do is we're going to be seeing inequalities, and we're going to graph them and see what their solution means. Okay, so we're going to go into some serious detail about this. So let's get started. So for graphing inequalities, this is an inequality right here. Okay, so if we remember from sixth grade or previously, inequalities are when you have this symbol that looks like the alligator's mouth. So you have less than, greater than. You also have less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So this particular inequality is saying x is less than negative 5. Okay, because the alligator is going to eat the negative 5, that means x is going to be a smaller that's less than negative 5. Okay, negative 5 is the bigger number because the alligator's mouth is opening up and going to eat the negative 5. So what we're going to do is we want to graph what x is less than negative 5 is based on these steps so that we can see what the solution is to this inequality, what numbers x can possibly be. So in an inequality, x represents more than just one number now. X is not just equal to 3 or equal to 4 or equal to 7. X now represents a lot of numbers, and we're going to show what numbers those x represents on a graph. So step one is to construct a number line. So when we construct a number line, you guys, it can be fairly simple. Just make sure you put arrows on both sides, a somewhat straight line. Okay, there's my number line. Okay, your number line obviously is going to have marks in it. Okay, you don't necessarily have to start from 0 though, because some inequalities, if it's like x is less than 100 and you start from 0, you got to count all the way from 0 to 100, and that's a lot of counting. So I just construct my number line like so. Now I'm going to find the number from the inequality. So my inequality is x is less than negative 5. So for my number line, for this particular number line, instead of starting at 0, I'm actually going to start at negative 5. And then I'm going to number 3 numbers on each side of it. So I'll have negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. And then this is negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. And then it just keeps going on. The important thing is that we number at least 3 or 4 numbers to the left of our inequality, just so we know show how a number line works. Okay, make sure when you have negatives you count backwards, because negatives count backwards from 0, because this would be 0 over here, right? So it's counting backwards, and it's counting, then it goes in the positives when it counts normally. So I've got my number line. I've got my value for my inequality, negative 5 right here. Okay, now I need to look at this step number 3 here. I'm on step 3. If the sign is less than or greater than one of these, so that's one of our signs, we're going to put an open circle on the number in our inequality. If the sign has the or equal to sign below, then we put a closed circle. So by looking at this, I see my sign is one of these two. It is less than. So that means I'm going to put an open circle on that number. And I like to do it right above it just so I could see it a little bit better. I'm putting an open circle on that negative 5, the number in my inequality, because of this symbol right here. Then I need to determine if x is less than negative 5, which numbers are less than negative 5. So this is step 4. The way I can figure that out is I plug in a number that's on my number line in for x and see if it's true or not. So here's what I mean by that. I can take negative 6 right here. This is the number on this number line. I can take negative 6 and I can plug it in for x. So I'm replacing this x with negative 6. So I have negative 6 is less than negative 5. And I need to ask myself, is this true? Is negative 5 bigger than negative 6? The answer is yes. Because we're dealing with negatives, negative 6 is less than negative 5. Okay? As we go further negative, the numbers get smaller. So this is a true statement. Since this is true, that means negative 6 is part of my solution, which means I take from the open circle and I get to shade to my left. And that means any number to the left of negative 5 on the number line would be true, because any number to the left of negative 5 is less than negative 5. Now, had I plugged in negative 4 for x, and negative 4 is less than negative 5, this is not true. Negative 4 is not less than negative 5. This is not a true statement. So that's why I can't shade to the right, because this is not a solution to this inequality. So our solution is which numbers make this inequality true. And that would be negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, and I could keep going on forever to the left of my number line. Any number that's to the left of negative 5 on the number line is less than negative 5 and would be true. Let's look at another one. just in case that was a little bit confusing, I think we need to see a few more examples. So that's the one we just did. So now I have the inequality y is greater than 6. So the first thing I need to look at is I have my number line already kind of constructed. I need to make sure I have numbers on the number line to show that I know how a number line works. So I'm going to start with the number that I have, which is 6, and I'm going to put some numbers to the side of it. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I've got a piece of a number line. Of course, I didn't necessarily start from 0, which is okay. You can. I just don't prefer to sometimes. So here's my number line. I'm at 6. So now I need to determine if I'd use an open or a closed circle. So because my symbol is greater than, I'm going to use an open circle on the number in my inequality, which is 6. And now from here, what I'm going to do is I need to determine when y is greater than 6, because y, the alligator is going to eat the y, which means the y has to be bigger than 6. I need to figure out which of these numbers are bigger than 6. Is 5, if I were to plug in 5 into my inequality, is 5 greater than 6? And it's not. 5 is not a solution to this particular inequality. It doesn't work because 5 is not bigger than 6. If I were to plug in 7, is 7 bigger than 6? And the answer is yes, it is. So 7 is a solution. 8 would be a solution. 9 is bigger than 6. 10 is bigger than 6. So all of these numbers to the right are bigger than 6. So that means my inequality, I do an open circle on 6, and then draw a line to the right showing that all of these values would satisfy this inequality. Okay? So that means y, if y is bigger than 6, that means y can be any number bigger than 6, which is all the numbers to the right of the number line than 6. All right, so negative 8 is less than or equal to x. So now the variable's on the right side of the inequality, which is okay. Okay, so I'm going to start. First, we construct our number line. We write down our numbers. So I have negative 8. I've got negative 7. This will be negative 6, negative 5. Notice how my number line's not perfect. It's okay, guys. It doesn't have to be perfect. Negative 10. We'll go negative 11 right here. Okay. So negative 8 is less than or equal to x. So the alligator is going to eat the x, which means x is actually a bigger number. Okay, so the x is supposed to be bigger than negative 8. I need to look at my symbol right here and determine on this negative 8, do I use an open or am I going to put a closed circle? Because it has this or equal to underneath, that means I need to put a closed circle above the negative 8. The reason why it's closed is that means because it says or equal to, negative 8 is part of the solution. If I were to plug in negative 8 is less than or equal to negative 8, that's true because this means or equal to. So that means negative 8 is equal to negative 8. So that means this would be part of my solution. This would work. So x is bigger than negative 8. So I need to figure out, do I shade left or do I shade right? Which numbers are bigger than negative 8? Because the alligator is going to eat the x, that means x is the bigger number. So I need to test my values. If I were to plug in 9 for x, is negative 9 greater than negative 8? Is negative 8 less than or equal to negative 9? No, it's not. With negatives, remember, it's backwards. Okay, so that's not a solution. Okay, this is actually would be less than. So that means I need to shade to the right. Okay, because negative 7 is a bigger number than negative 8. Negative 6 is bigger than negative 8. One final graph. X is less than or equal to 1. First step, construct a number line. I'll start from 0 on this one. We'll go negative 1. I'll go negative 2. I'll go 1, 2, 3. So that's a good enough number line, I think. So now I'm working with 1. So I'm working with this 1 right here. I need to determine if it's an open or a closed circle. Because I have the or equal to sign underneath, it's going to be a closed circle. Now I've got to figure out, is x bigger than 1 or is x less than 1? The alligator is going to eat the 1, so that means x has to be less than 1. So x is less than or equal to 1. So which of these numbers is less than 1? Is 2 less than or equal to 1? If I were to plug in 2, is this true? It's not, so that doesn't work, which means I've got to shade it to my left. If I were to plug in 0, is this true? Yes, it is, so this works. Okay, that's how you graph inequalities. So first, construct your number line. Then we need to write out the numbers in the number line that deal with the number that we're working with. We need to determine if we're using an open or closed circle based on our symbol. And then we shade left or right based on what the inequality tells us. Okay, hope this video helped, and good luck.